Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to another scene for Rage Across the Ascension, I think we'll call this. Or Mage the Apocalypse. And yeah, this scene has taken place because of a thing that happened a little while back. A certain member of the Happy Dragon Chantry was harassed, accosted by a member of the NYPD, a certain Captain Clay. And Nasuciaa Alexios, on hearing of this, was very annoyed and wants to meet this captain, who her compatriot Ava has told her appears as a, when viewed using magical sights, a giant hairy monster. She has heard the word werewolf from other mages, although she doesn't really know what it means. Or certainly doesn't know anything about them aside from that. And so she has made a donation to the Friends of the NYPD Foundation because she is so impressed with the actions of a certain Captain Clay. She has donated $15,000, and because of this, the precinct are holding a small kind of like a small meet and greet after office hours for the generous hedge fund manager who made such a generous donation to the department. And yeah, that is where we will start our scene, with her handshakes are being done. Nasuciaa is kind of looking a bit... she always has this expression, and the police captain and certain other members of the NYPD public relations staff are doing their best to kind of suck up to her and talk about a month, like a yearly kind of a subscription, or the special benefits you can get from it. And how, yeah, keeping this place clean and all this sort of thing. And yeah, Nasuciaa's just kind of going along with it. She hasn't drunk. She's not being particularly conversationary. She appears to just be kind of shaking hands. And, what is Jacob up to?
I suppose Jacob is probably doing much the same. His rage is definitely prevalent to... it's still rage free, so probably to a lesser degree, not as bad as rage 4 or 5, but still, obviously, he definitely alarms a fair number of people in the room. I don't have the immediate statistics, but probably around half, maybe just under. But he's trying to undermine that by through general pleasantries. Like Nausicaa, he doesn't really drink any of the alcohol. He does have soft drinks, but that's really about it. He has some punch, but isn't really he's largely just trying to endure the situation as best he can, given his unique state of being, and is really just kind of probably slowly forming his own little circle of people who are less afraid of him. But at some point we'll probably kind of go around. He's trying to greet everyone, in spite of the fact that about half of them are terrified of him. Probably slowly make his way around the room to Nausicaa at some point.
So yeah, after doing the rounds, Jacob will notice that Nausicaa appears to be glancing at her, and she says something to the commissioner, who the hell ever, the member of the HR or PR department, saying she wants to speak with Captain Clay. He will be waved over.
Jacob will he'll kind of trundle over. There's probably like, well, because there's only the two of us, I guess we can say the faceless NPCs like walk away, either because
oh no. When Jacob arrives, Nausicaa just turns to them and just says, "I would like to talk to Captain Clay alone, thank you." And for the sake of plot, they will kind of like slightly awkwardly leave and begin talking about how weird she is.
Rage is persuasive.
So Nausicaa just stands there and looks at Jacob.
I see. Oh, see, I see two names on the overlay. Who is she known
Sorry,
as?
I apologize. She is here under the name Anna Komnene. And essentially, Nausicaa's like, I know I've spelled graceless wrong overlay, I'm going to change it. But she has a flaw called graceless, which means any of her first impression rolls are at +3 difficulty. So, although we don't roll them, essentially when you first see her, she looks kind of gangly and awkward and kind of like uncomfortable and like without any grace or poise.
She kind of looks like she doesn't want to be here.
Yeah, just looks like a kind of awkward nerd. And she will literally just stare at Jacob when they're both left relatively alone.
Hello, I don't believe we've met.
No, we haven't.
I'm Jacob Clay. Run the station.
Captain Jacob Clay, no?
He kind of, how to say it, he kind of tilts his head back and forth in a sort of, it's like kind of to like denote a bit slightly more casual attitude. Technically, yes. I guess I'm not on. Well, I guess I'm in a different kind of duty right now.
Are you or aren't you? My donation was made under the assumption that I would be able to speak to a Captain Jacob Clay of this district.
I am Captain Jacob Clay, yes.
Good.
Might I have the pleasure of knowing your name?
My name is Anna Komnene. I'm a hedge fund manager for Iliad Capital on Wall Street. This party has been thrown in honor of me, I suppose. I made a generous donation to your precinct.
Yeah, yes, I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm sure you've heard that enough times now. He'll offer to shake her hand.
She just looks down at the hand and then just looks back at him. I would like to talk to you in more private than this. And she doesn't shake his hand.
He'll put his hand in his pocket, I guess. We can talk in my office if you want.
That would be acceptable.
Right. He just says that as he slowly nods, and yeah, we'll probably just take her up the stairs, and his office will probably be like down a hall past a bunch of cubicles, and yeah, it's a little private space because he runs the precinct, so it's probably its own little fancy room. Probably the nicest office in the building.
Think if you're the captain, then yeah.
Yeah.
Still not to take people's badge and their gun.
Still not like super high class, but it's just a nice desk. Yeah, he'll Jacob will offer her a seat as he opens the door.
Nasuciaa doesn't take it and just looks around the room. And then just turns around and looks at him.
So what is it that you wanted to discuss?
A few weeks ago, you ran into somebody. You tried to charge her with jaywalking.
Yeah, I recognize her. She's currently wanted under suspicion of being accomplice to murder.
Nasuciaa nods.
Well,
yes, she is. And Nasuciaa will walk over to the window and look up into the sky. There's no moon out tonight. The clouds are covering it.
Jacob shrugs. Suppose not. Could just kind of wait for her to speak, because now he's very interested to see where this goes.
I would like to know why you harassed this person. That is now wanted.
Why so? I am aware that she was an employee of the business you operate at.
He's not aware of that because she's not.
Well, Avid said she did.
Oh, she said that in character? Okay,
She
well
said
then.
she worked for Iliad.
Okay, well, that's great.
Oh,
she's literally like not on the books, but that's fine. If she said that, then yeah.
Yeah, she said she was picking up furniture as a.
You must be mistaken.
Well,
we have no one at my work going by that name.
Well, I can. So, mostly, is it a matter of public? I mean, it's a fucking fine. I don't think it's really a legal quandary, I suppose. Jacob's like, well, I mean, it's fairly straightforward. She ended up crossing the road, dropped her handbag, almost caused a traffic incident. Initially let her go, but she wouldn't tell me who she's basically being very uncooperative in general. And I would have initially just dropped the charge because at the end of the day it's jaywalking, right? But it's generally about making a point of if you don't cooperate with the police on matters, then they're going to raise the stakes to some extent. Obviously, I wasn't going to throw her in a cell. It's jaywalking. You can't even do that for jaywalking.
Maybe you should have, though. It turns out she's a murderer, correct?
Yeah. If I'd known, it would have perhaps been a very different situation.
Does your department have any leads on this person?
I wouldn't be able to leak the details of an investigation even if I wanted to. Charitable donation or no. I'm very intrigued as to why you would want to know, to be completely honest.
That's my business.
Then I hope you can understand that the business of the investigation is the business of the investigation.
Also nods. I do have certain information about you, Captain Clay. Though you aren't what you appear to be.
Excuse me?
Before I continue this conversation further, I would remind you that your superior is downstairs. No, I'm up here. As well as many of my employees and friends. If anything were to happen to me, they would know. And certain information I have will be given to the media and your superiors.
Frankly, miss, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. But if this is a serious attempt to blackmail me, that is something that you will regret very quickly.
If I was blackmailing you, I would have asked for something.
You did ask for information.
I did. And she cocks her head slightly. Well, let's not beat around the bush. You're not human.
She looks down and up at himself. I should probably roll manipulation subterfuge.
Sure.
Just because that is kind of a startling statement. I mean, it was implied by her in her last words to Jacob, but, you know, so it's not, he didn't expect to be confronted nevertheless about this. He gets one success to maintain cool. You can roll perception and fear against that.
Sure. I will do. Be an extra dice roller.
Extra dice roll 1, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have no successes.
Okay. He appears. He's obviously alarmed at your statement. As most people would be, I'd hope. He's not like in a state of shock or anything, but he is kind of like obviously like fucking confused in a little bit. Yeah, we kind of a weird kind of baseline, confused and a bit stressed and alarmed.
Mm-hmm.
Suspicious, I think, is also fair to say, just because these things are like he's not hiding from you. So,
would you say this is accurate, Captain Clay? And I'm going to enact an effect. With 2 successes. So Nasuciaa will know if you lie. And don't lie to me. Oh no.
I'm sorry, what?
You're not entirely human. I don't know exactly how it works.
Jacob, kind of, he puts a hand to his forehead, just trying to. Now he is in a state of shock. I just need to check something real quick. Things are happening now. I won't have him roll. I don't know if you can even roll Primal Urge. I know we have done it in the past, but
as far as I'm aware, it's an undetectable effect.
oh, so it's undetectable. Yeah, it's like passive. Like actually, if it kind of works. If it's just like sight, like
if I'd done something to you, for example, mind magic, or you'd seen me do something, then it wasn't entirely obvious it was me. Then you might be able to roll.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm essentially doing an effect on myself.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I'm sorry. Who are you and why are you accusing me of being inhuman?
I told you my name. Your bosses can verify it for me. For you.
Mm-hmm.
And an associate of mine came back saying she had been harassed by a member of the NYPD and that she believes that this member of the NYPD is not entirely human. He exhibited traits of something we have seen before. When perceived in a certain way, he appears large, hairy, monstrous, and canine.
He kind of just murmurs something unintelligible to himself. So you came down here to wait a second. Are you still in touch with this person?
I told you, that's my business. Although I do have effective ways of maintaining watch on people. For example, and Nausicaa will pull out her phone. And I will do another effect. Wow, 3 successes. And yeah, Nausicaa essentially now has access to your phone via hers.
Okay.
Using correspondence. So she will choose a choice piece of information that would be on his phone.
His phone is dedicated to him, actually. Let's see. He wouldn't have anything about the Gyro on the phone, I think, because he has the pack link for that, so that wouldn't be in play.
That's also not specifically what she's looking for. It will be more like GPS, like locations of where you are. Maybe just something like a text from his wife. It's more or less something for Nausicaa to kind of like say, "I'm not normal either,"
Okay.
and I'm maybe vaguely threatening to you.
No. Yeah, he has. Yeah, he has. Yeah, he has a wife. He sends texts to her fairly frequently. I mean,
What's her name?
Philippa. Philippa. Looks like they've been together for barely even a year.
What's does he have? Is it like a smartphone? Does it have a GPS active on it?
It would be a smartphone. I'll say for the sake of plot, sure.
Your wife Philippa's a lucky woman. And then he'll say the location, the address of your house. There's a nice neighborhood.
Is this a shakedown?
No. I know something about you. And now you know I'm unusual as well.
He will roll to smell one team. We should have done that all sooner. I think the diff is. I'll just say standard diff because difficulty is relevant to basically the area that you're actually in. So
isn't the difficulty based on the worm taint of the person or something?
It's based on like the sort of location you're in and the sort of the worm taint.
Yeah, I think that's because it assumes that you're using it to detect worm taint in an area, as it were.
Yeah, I'll just double check because.
I mean, okay, yeah, you can just do standard diff. That sounds.
It seems. I mean, yeah, like the city has like a fair amount of worm taint, but also not enough that you can't distinguish like significant amounts of it.
Yeah.
like on Fomori and stuff. He gets one success, so I mean, she probably doesn't smell any more worm tainted than.
I mean, she's objectively not worm tainted.
Yeah, effectively. Now we've attained Harlow. No.
Actually, as much as she might seem it, no.
Yeah.
Like her resonance actually is yeah is kind of chaotic, but yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, I mean, Jacob would be able to tell that. But I keep running into you people. I guess I'm just very active.
You people define.
I mean, that's pretty difficult because I keep running into people like you who are abnormal and can do strange things, which I don't always appreciate.
You don't appreciate it in your capacity as a policeman, or in your capacity as a large furry. She cocks her head slightly. Monster.
In my capacity as a police officer, I guess, okay. Let me start from the ground up here. What exactly do you want?
I wanted to meet you.
Okay. What are your
I want,
intentions?
my intentions are to work out whether you're a threat.
That depends entirely on whether you wish to threaten me, because right now you've made a very generous donation to my police department, or this police precinct, which I appreciate.
But I've also shown that if I wanted to, I could potentially make your life uncomfortable. In a matter of seconds, I was able to deduce private facts about your personal life. I'm quite sure if I had a reason to put time and effort into it, I could come up with other things.
You are assuming you would be given the opportunity.
Like I said, people know I'm here.
That is also an assumption. Or rather, no, you're assuming that that will matter.
I'm assuming that your nice suburban house and wife and job here would not last very long if you were to kill me now. Like I said, your superior is downstairs now that I'm with you. And certain people that have certain information also know I'm here.
Okay.
I have no intention of creating enemies where there doesn't need to be any, but I wanted to acquiesce, or sorry, I wanted to assess whether you were potentially a threat or not.
No, but continue to procure private facts about myself and my family in a fashion as to be threatening, then you will find that I will be a big thorn in your side.
In what way? I haven't committed a crime.
No, I don't need to tell you anything.
Nausicaa just nods.
But I wouldn't say that if I didn't mean it. I rarely say things I don't mean.
Well, it occurs to me. I very much doubt you're a threat. Frankly, you don't actually seem to know much of what's going on. No offense.
A lot of weird people come and go.
And it also occurs to me that if we are not a threat to each other, then perhaps we could be useful to each other. I assume you superiors are not aware of the condition that you can neither confirm or deny.
He considers this for a moment actually fairly seriously. There would be nothing to discuss on that particular matter.
And me and my friends would prefer not to be harassed by the NYPD.
You mean the one that's currently wanted as accomplice to murder?
You said you met other people before. People that are different. We have enemies. And you can take it from me. Ava did not do what the television says she did. And you can peony or a truth of Guy if you want.
I guess he will truth of guide that. I mean, what even is Nausicaa's manipulation subterfuge?
Really bad. It's well, no, okay, actually, it's 4 dice.
Oh, it's 4 dice. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's who had worse than that? I think only one person had 3. Might have been Ava. I'm not sure.
Well, I had to basically take like some social stats because I didn't yeah.
The worst face at a party.
Actually, I'm pretty happy to. I mean, okay, you got 5 successes. I basically have a flaw that means I'm really bad at lying. So I was thinking maybe you could get like lower difficulty for that, but you have 5 successes.
He got 5. Yeah, he gets 5 successes. I mean, so, I rolled a 2 anyway, and I can't get a lower diff on a roll than 2.
Yeah. So that statement is that statement that Nasuciaa said is true, or she believes it to be true.
I'll look into it and see for myself.
Sure. And I would like to know that if there are... We know there are different kinds of people in the city. We've actually seen some of your kind before. They say you're kind. I am unable to actually see the difference, but some of my friends are. One of my other friends, and you can P&E that there's something not true about the other friend's part of it.
Okay, I'll do that.
It's just fine. You have 5 successes. I don't really care. That was good. Doesn't. Yeah. Was actually attacked by one of your kind. She had her property stolen and destroyed.
Wait, well, someone had their property stolen and destroyed, and they attacked, like, one of you guys?
That's good odds.
Seems like
And
we've got some
yeah,
problems with that.
that rings true.
That rings is true.
I don't know if you work in some kind of community or you may know each other. You may be lone. She pauses for a moment. Wolves, for all I know. But if this were the case, and something similar was to happen again, I would like to know that there was a clear and helpful line of communication between our two groups, so that misunderstandings could be rectified easily.
I see I'm trying very hard not to break the veil of my words, but I guess it doesn't matter at this point because she's clearly supernatural, so.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Luckily the mage's version of the veil doesn't apply to other supernaturals.
I don't even know if the well version does.
The masquerade doesn't. I think yours does specifically mention normal humans, but whatever.
Humans. I think it. Yeah, it.
It's vague, I think.
I think it. Nah, it does talk about humans, and it's just that ancient vampires are capable of acting on what humans learn. So it does seem to emphasize the human side of it. So, well, I'm a philodox. I've investigated myself and found no wrongdoing.
Convenient.
Wonderfully convenient. Well, Jacob will just say, well, I can look into that. I haven't heard of that, and frankly, if you haven't taken it the wrong way, then
That particular incident happened. No harm, no foul.
Yeah, the reason I emphasize you assuming you being here would matter before is because, and judging from that incident, you should be putting together that we can be quite impulsive. That is not always within our capacity to. Sorry, it is not always within our capacity to make a rational decision.
Oh, really? I wasn't aware of this. Maybe that goes some length to explaining the NYPD's extraordinary police brutality rates.
Nah, that police issues have been there long before I came here.
I know.
And no, that's a human thing.
I know. My point was, if something like this happened again, we would be forced to defend ourselves. And we have enough enemies as it is.
Likewise. I don't think any of us are really. Actually, I have. How to ask this question? I doubt you're a leech.
So, cocks ahead. A leech. I'm a hedge fund manager, if that's what you mean.
No, I mean, you would either. I doubt by the way you act. You'd be a fae, so you're likely either.
A fae. That's the word I understand.
Yeah, they get around. So either. A human hunter or a mage?
Hunter. That's one I've not heard. Explain.
I don't really know much about them. I know they exist, and some pick up abnormal abilities. From where? How? I don't know. But which one are you? I assume mage, by course of trial and error.
I'm surprised you've heard of us, especially that particular nomenclatural culture. Yes, that would be accurate.
One of ours used to know your kind very well and spoke of you.
Oh, really? Which of us?
He's long gone now.
Hmm. I wasn't aware there were many of us in the city.
Well, they're very... Well, I've never ran into any of you before. Well, apart from Ava, I assume.
Well, congratulations. Might I be accurate in describing what you are as a werewolf?
Normally, I'd have a veil to protect, but you're supernatural, so I can let that go and say, yeah.
The veil to protect. I assumed your kind also have some kind of code of secrecy.
It would appear every supernatural does to some extent or another.
I have not heard of you, aside from folklore. That is why I chose to visit you when it was not a full moon. I don't know how accurate that is.
I can't divulge the vast majority of what I know. Partly because I don't know you very well. And two, because it's standard procedure as far as I'm concerned. I assume you wouldn't tell me much of what you know about your kind, because that would also be a security issue.
No. Information is power, especially to us.
Precisely. But yes, I'd very much prefer if we remained on good terms rather than bad. And
I'm
I
glad
can
about
tell
that.
you, my kind really has no intention of starting a fight with yours. What you encountered looks like someone went off the handle, which can happen from time to time. It's why it's usually a very, very good reason to remain mild-mannered and quiet around us. Saying the wrong thing can cause incidents like that. We don't always have the option of us stopping ourselves.
Your kind lacks self-control.
In part, I'm saying that really for your own safety, not for mine, because someone like me would live through the experience. The person on the receiving end would most likely not.
Are you sure about that?
For the most part, I'm sure your kind has tricks like we do. But most of the time, yes, it gets very bloody, and I really don't like that happening. I'm a cop. I like it when people don't die. I'm working very hard to try and stop people from dying.
I should inform you then that the NYPD is compromised.
I am partially aware. I just threw some of them in jail.
Oh, really?
Probably nothing to do with your kind, but well, actually, I know it's nothing to do with your kind, but yes, there are lots of things that like to crawl around in the police department, and I am not a fan of any of them.
Also, notes. That is good to hear.
So yeah, if people are acting well, less, how to say, if people are acting in a corrupt manner, or acting on outside influences, I'd appreciate the help in keeping the police force clean.
Well, I can give you one example. The current spurious claims about a certain young lady that you ran into a few weeks ago.
As I said, I'll look into that. I am limited by my precinct, so
I understand.
I don't run the entire city. I'll be real quick for 1 minute. Yeah, so it's going.
And yeah. Wait.
Let's see, something about Jacob said, yeah, I can give you an example. Spurs claims about my compatriot, whatever, and then Jacob's like, yeah, I'll look into that. And they last say? I think it's something along those lines.
I just hope that if we have our groups come into contact again and it becomes confrontationary, we will be able to come to a non-violent resolution.
Or if we have some kind of issue, we will be able to come to you with it. Rather than seeking reparations ourselves.
Likewise. Glad I was sober for this.
I'm always sober. You shouldn't drink. It's bad for you. I keep trying to tell my friends that.
I'm a non-alcoholic.
Oh, I also am. I drank champagne once. I didn't like it.
It really isn't that good. I don't understand what people like about it.
Nausicaa kind of cocks her head and nods as if she kind of approves.
But yeah, if something comes up, you tell me, I'll handle it, or at least I'll tell the individuals involved to get off your back about it, because you've got enough enemies, we've got enough enemies. We don't really need to be breathing down each other's necks.
This is accurate.
All I'd ask is that a conflict not be provoked. As I said, we can be quite impulsive.
We are not impulsive. Well, I am not impulsive. I would not seek to promote a conflict of any kind.
But like I said, if we are attacked, we will defend ourselves.
Makes sense.
I must admit, Jacob Clay, I am slightly impressed.
It has taken me a lot of effort and resources to be able to operate in the city without my enemy's knowledge.
And you are a captain of the NYPD. I assume your enemies are not aware of this, whoever they are.
I fear it's only a matter of time. But I'm prepared for the eventuality.
I must ask a question. You talk about your enemies. The people who we refer to as our enemies, I believe also would not be friends of yours. They detest all things that do not fit the common consensus, including your kind. Although I believe their priorities are on us. So let me ask you a few questions.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Do your enemies take the form of large corporate entities?
Very much so.
Hmm.
I'm involved in the investigation of several.
Perhaps our enemies are one and the same.
Potentially, I find that a lot of the things that our enemies tend to hide within human society, although I guess all of us do that to some extent or another.
Ours are similar. I would argue that ours go to the lens of almost defining what human society is. They do not like things that are threats to the status quo. For example, people like me and people like you.
He considers the sort of way that's worded, because it does sound like it fits a very specific archetype. I couldn't say in particular or what they might be, but I've thought things like that before. Or at least that are obsessed with consensus and status quo.
Interesting. Maybe we should prepare notes sometime.
You could say my kind is more involved in fighting off of things which are defined by the decay and destruction of patterns rather than their maintenance, though.
Patterns.
Patterns, structure, consensus.
Patterns are a specialty of mine.
Hmm. I'm usually good at working around them and within them.
Interesting.
But my kind's best usually at tearing them down.
We are able to work subtly. I pride myself personally on my ability to work subtly.
Not a quality shared by most of my kind.
You sound like you lament that.
I very much do. I feel like things would be far easier and more efficient for everyone involved if they understood how to operate within the system.
Oscar nods again.
You could say I'm an exception to the rule. We're better at coping with it than we are at working within it. But I'm afraid I can't go into much more detail than that.
I understand. Well, Mr. Jacob Clay, I am glad we have come to this understanding.
Likewise, I'll pass it on to that everybody knows not to go messing around with the mages if they didn't already know that.
He just knows.
To be honest, the most I've ever heard about your kind was closer to a warning than anything else.
A warning?
Your kind seem quite diverse in that some of us, some of your kind could fit right in with us. Others are the complete opposite and are very much our enemies, and the others fit almost as well, on and off.
I do not believe that I am very much like you.
No, I wouldn't say that. Though your kind does have a reputation on occasion for being a threat to our kind, that hasn't been the case here, but in other places.
I can believe that.
Can't say too much about your enemies, but I have no doubt that I've probably dealt with the consequences of their actions on several occasions.
Perhaps. I wouldn't know.
Yes, I'm glad we could reach this understanding.
Me too. Maybe in the future. This meeting today will go to sum up to prevent bloodshed.
I certainly hope so.
If I ever need to contact you in the future, then I will do. For the record, you have relatively weak computer security in this department. It could certainly stand to be beefed up.
I found that with fairly recent news, any form of government security has been fairly lacking. But I'll take that into account, thank you.
Also, just knows.
Jake's still irritated. Stop hacking my shit, Shake's fist. Yeah, he'll just say, is there anything else? I suppose we'll be in touch at a later date. Do not be surprised if I don't answer the phone. I will not always be available.
You don't need to answer your phone for me to talk to you. But I understand your meaning. If your department ever wishes for further funding and assistance, I believe I'm now a registered member of the Friends of the New York Police Department.
I appreciate the charity.
It wasn't charity. I was buying some of your time. And yeah, with that, Nasuciaa will turn to leave and then just stop. I'm going to leave now. You can inform your superiors that we had a productive discussion, but I find them very boring, and I do not wish to continue this boring social event now that I have what I want.
By all means.
Yeah, Nasuciaa will walk out and leave.
Jacob slightly more tempted to take some of that champagne, but he still won't because he's a rigid piece of shit. And apparently, having very much learned a lesson, if he somehow hasn't already, that there's literally a catch to everything. And I think with that, as he'll head down and tell his superiors that yes, they had such a productive discussion and everything is fine. And we'll probably maybe not so subtly break it to them that their guest was not entertained. And we'll end the scene there. Thank you, Per, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you all next time.